All right, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today for Managing COVID-related Stress, Tactics, and Emotional Intelligence Training for Managers. I'm Jackie Petroselli, the Marketing Specialist here at MP. For those of you joining us on a webinar for the first time, MP is a full-service human capital management services company offering a suite of products and services, including HR, payroll, benefits administration, time and attendance, and compliance. We support our clients with cutting-edge technical solutions, as well as proactive, reliable service and deep HR and payroll expertise. MP is wired for HR and helps clients succeed by tying their operations to their business goals. We're so excited to be partnering with Stacee Mandeville from Red Leaf Coaching today. Stacee's philosophy is that 99.9% of all issues with soft skills in business stem from three primary challenges: inability to communicate with clarity, passion, and authority, deficiency of emotional intelligence in the context of business, and want to forward thinking when it comes to using those two skills for influencing and persuasion. Stacee's work highlights these elements in any session she develops, and she favors action over talk. Her concrete soft skills methodology takes the theoretical, philosophical, touchy-feely elements of soft skills and turns them into actionable tools you can wrap your hands around. Concrete soft skills is an engaging but no-nonsense approach that helps you remember what you learned and walk away with an action plan for continuous growth long after your coaching has ended. And to introduce today's presenters, first up, Stacee Mandeville, founder and communication skills coach at Red Leaf Coaching, is a recovering performing artist using her theater training, TSOA, and unique, quirky perspective to help reduce workplace toxicity and help businesses thrive. Part coach and part motivational speaker and part mentor, Stacee has coached business executives across the globe since 1999 and has had the pleasure of working with individuals in a myriad of industries all over the world through partnerships with various companies, including Merck, Pfizer, General Electric, and Levi's. Next up, Amanda Bridge is our HR generalist at MP. She currently provides HR support to small, medium, and large-sized businesses in a variety of industries and was previously an HR generalist for a 200-plus employee pediatric nonprofit organization. And now onto our legal disclaimer. This training is intended for educational and informational purposes only. While we hope that you will learn a lot today, we are not attorneys and the information should not be construed as legal advice. And with that, I'm going to hand the mic off to Stacee to get started.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate the eloquent introduction. As she said, I am Stacee Mandeville, and I am here to help you support your employees through these very trying times. Now, the situation we are all in right now is we are in an unprecedented state of fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. And when you're faced with employees that are experiencing this, they're going to respond differently than they would on a normal Tuesday in 2018. Also, we have to keep in mind that as managers, we ourselves also might be experiencing fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. So we are going to talk today about using practical emotional intelligence to minimize and manage stressful situations and difficult conversations, get some more insight into the employee perspective and why they're afraid and what gives them anxiety, so that we can support employee well-being and ease everyone's transition to, hopefully, our post-COVID world. So what is practical emotional intelligence, and is there a roadmap? Now, to be honest, emotional intelligence is a week-long retreat with meditation and trust falls, and we don't have time for that. I'm going to do my best to give you all of this training in 45 minutes. So here we go. We have to first learn to identify emotional triggers. We need to develop coping mechanisms for ourselves and ways to diffuse triggers in others. We need to get and stay logical, and we need to care and prepare. And practical and emotional intelligence is a dandelion. It's a gift that keeps on giving. The more you do it, the more you plant seeds of emotional intelligence, the better everyone's relationships and productivity is going to be. All right. So what are triggers? Emotional triggers. Normal life, we're going along our business. We have interactions with people. We respond and we get results, usually good results. When I feel I am under attack, then my brain gets triggered. Then I have a response. Instead of a response, I have a reaction. I lash out, I bite, and there are repercussions for that kind of behavior. We need to begin to recognize when I feel under attack and when I perceive other people are feeling like they're under attack so that I can make choices. So we're going to have a little science lesson. I am not a neurophysicist, and I don't play one on TV either. So please forgive my my minimal knowledge. But what I can tell you is that we have a thinking brain that is the neocortex, logical thinking. I want to punch the boss, but I will not because I should not, and that's not what we do here. Then there's the reptile brain. The reptile brain is your spidey sense. It's responsible for gut reactions and all of the basic functions. So when we see something scary, let's say our ancestors, our caveman ancestors, they see a saber-toothed tiger. It goes right into our amygdala, which is where we experience emotions. And it shuts down the neocortex. We do not need to think about this, we need to act. It activates the reptile brain, which floods our body with adrenaline, cortisol, testosterone, chemicals that help us have the energy to fight, to run, to live another day. This was super helpful for our ancestors to have these responses. And when this is happening, it's called an amygdala hijack. Your thinking brain goes away. If you've ever heard somebody say, yeah, I just lost my mind. They literally lost their mind. It shuts off and you don't have any control. Now, these chemicals are meant to be used. So you're flooded with these chemicals, you fight, you use that energy, you run, you use that energy. And all those chemicals go away and you can live your life. These chemicals are pretty toxic. We're not meant to live under them for long. There's a third stress response that is talked about less, and that is freeze. Freeze is when it's a deer in the headlights, almost like going into shock. You play dead. Your pulse goes down. You completely become numb. Now, this is for two reasons. One, predators normally don't like dead prey, so they might leave you alone, which would be good. And if they do decide to eat you, if you're numb, it doesn't hurt as much. So this is our body protecting us. When you go into freeze, you still have to release those chemicals, but you're playing dead. What happens is when the predator goes away, you wake up and you jump and you scream and you and you release those toxic chemicals. I know this to be true. I've experienced it. I was in a car with some people and somehow, don't know how, we ended up on the wrong side of the highway. And when we found the traffic, there was a phalanx of cars approaching us at 80 miles an hour, and everyone in the car froze. Not a sound. And I remember being completely and thinking, wow, we're going to get creamed. I wonder if it's going to hurt. Luckily, the driver did not go into freeze, did a marvelous J-turn, got us to the shoulder where we all sat in complete stillness. And then all of a sudden, everyone in the car started jumping up and down and screaming and freaking out. This is freeze in action in a healthy way. We're protected. If we get creamed, it won't hurt. And now we release. The problem is a little stress is good. It protects us. Constant stress, not so good. When we live under constant chemicals, and we have not evolved, every little threat, every perceived threat, we go through this response. And your boss yells at you, you can't punch her, you can't run away, so we freeze. Then your spouse yells at you and we freeze. Your child gets called in for a conference at school, we freeze, and we stay here. Why does this science lesson matter? It matters because knowing that being in a state of freeze equals unused adrenaline, which equals a constantly triggered state. Knowing that creates empathy. That awareness lets us know that that guy's not just a jerk. Maybe he's triggered. Maybe she's got stuff going on. Oh, now I can begin to think in their shoes and not just blame. So we're going to talk about what triggers us and how do we know and how do we cope, and flip it to the other side as well. How do we deal when other people are triggered? So awareness, you first. It starts with you. You're the manager. You have to know, am I triggered? Why am I triggered? How does it manifest? And to begin to keep track. I'm not a fan of journaling, but not a bad idea to kind of begin to make a list of things that make you full of rage, whether they're irrational or actually rational things that make me sad, fearful. Begin to keep track. And how do you know? Stacey, I'm fine. I'm never triggered. I'm dealing with COVID fine. I'm tough. I'm strong. Maybe, but the body doesn't lie. If you think you might be triggered, do a physical check. Am I staring? Am I not blinking? Is my jaw clenched? Do I have butterflies in my stomach? Are my hips locked? Am I breathing? I don't know. Listen to your body. It's in all of the literature. You know, my hair stood on end, you know, flames were coming out of my neck. Listen to your body. When you're dealing with other people, you can look at their body language. Lack of eye contact can be one. Dead stillness can be one. Fidgeting a lot. Watch people. If they're sitting like this all the time, just notice these things. Mentally and emotionally, you may know some people who are kind of oversharers or people who vent too much. That's a sign of a trigger. People who are usually productive and they're no longer productive, lack of focus, lack of memory, lashing out, hiding, avoiding, ghosting. These are all potential signals that something is going on. And we just want to open our mindset. Is this easy to do? No. We would do role plays and practice this, but we've only got 45 minutes. So just begin to be aware. So most of us have some kind of coping mechanisms. When you're feeling stressed, you're like, yeah, I got to go to the gym and like pump some iron or run around the block, or I put on some music that calms me. Some people meditate. There's all, you know, I call my girlfriends and vent over a glass of wine. There's all kinds of ways that we can release this adrenaline when we're feeling triggered, once you know you're triggered. One of the easiest, fastest ways to shift energy that you can do even in the middle of a meeting is breathe. 4 billion people who do yoga can't be wrong. Breathing calms you down. And again, this is science. When you take deep cleansing breaths, you are massaging the vagus nerve that runs from the top of your I believe that's the basal ganglia, I'm not 100% sure, but the base of your skull all the way down to your guts. And when you breathe slowly and deliberately, you calm that down. There's a thing called box breathing. We don't have time to do a demonstration of it, but it would be 4 breaths, 4 counts inhale, 4 counts hold your breath, 4 counts exhale, 4 counts hold the exhale. You do 5 or 6 of these at a time when someone is aggravating you in a meeting, and you begin to short circuit that amygdala hijack. You put yourself in your body so you can experiment with box breathing. Okay, next step. We want to get logical. We know there's a trigger. We've calmed ourselves down. Now we need to engage the neocortex in a deliberate way. We got to flip that switch back on. So I'm recommending that you create what I'm calling, Pat Pending, a situation mind map to help you care and prepare. So you start from your own point of view because that's what you know best. What is the issue that we are dealing with? What's the issue on the table? I'm preparing to call an employee. What's the issue? Keep it neutral. you didn't get the things in on time, and because of you, the client's mad, and what is your problem, and what, versus, on August 5th, 2020, this project came in late, which caused the client to do X, Y, and Z. Neutral, resisting the urge to blame. Then what do I want and why? I want them to come back to work. Well, why? Why does that matter? Why is that important? Write it down. Am I triggered? What's triggering me today? Did my kids aggravate me? Did my husband burn the toast? Did I get really bad news from someone, like actual bad news? Do I have to manage that before I get on the phone or on the Zoom? Go through, and I've just made these up. There's other things that you will find pertinent to your situations and your employees, but go through why you're there. Why are you talking to them? And then switch hats. Walk a mile in their shoes. From their point of view, what is the issue? How do they perceive you? Do you have a relationship, or is it already kind of contentious? What is their listening style? If you're an aggressive, assertive type of personality and they're super quiet and shy, you might need to make some adjustments so that you can meet them where they are. What questions can I answer for them? Maybe they're confused. How can I help them understand? Your hat, their hat. Write a mind map down or a list. Have this before your meeting so you can refer back to it. It's kind of an audience profile. The more you know about them and the more you can use your imagination and guess at what they might be experiencing, the more prepared you are to meet them with emotional intelligence and empathy. So the last step is to care and prepare. You've got your mind map. Now I'm about to get on the call. The call is in 10 minutes. I'm going to do 5 rounds of box breathing. I'm going to check my triggers. Am I triggered? What's going on? I'm going to listen to some music, have a little dance party, whatever gets me in the mood to be empathetic. I'm going to use my mind map. I'm going to choose a time that works. If I am highly triggered and I have a call, I may call and say, hey, would you mind if we reschedule this? Right? I'm going to pick timing that works. I'm going to make space. What? Make space. We've got 10,000 tabs open on the computer, and then the Zoom is here, and then I got 4 glasses of water because I haven't had time to change up my desk, and I got my lip gloss. Get everything off your desk except what you need. Close all your tabs. Be prepared to really focus on that individual. So there's no distractions. Turn off your phone, get your dog out of here, all the things that make it helpful. When we're able to meet in real life again, making space also can mean choosing a space. Come into my office. That strikes terror into the heart of pretty much everyone, versus, hey, I'd like to chat with you. Let's have a walking meeting. Let's get a cup of coffee, right? Where can you make a safe physical space to have a difficult conversation? As I said before, stay neutral and fact-based. Resist the urge to blame. Do your best to keep it neutral. Assume good intentions. Most people are not trying to do badly or irritate you, most of them. And ABA, always be asking, never assume. In your mind map, writing down questions. What caused the problem? How could I support you? What could have prevented this from happening? What could help you be comfortable coming back to work? And listen, LPR, listen, pause, and breathe if you have to, and then respond. We don't want to be reacting to people that are reacting to what people are saying and interrupting them. Care and prepare. Is this a lot of extra work? Is it worth it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so we have briefly blown through learning to identify triggers with a little bit of a science lesson. Develop your coping methods, whatever works for you, particularly practicing box breathing. We want to get logical, use the neocortex, engage it by by being fact-based and asking questions. And care and prepare. You have your mind map, you have your setting, you have prepared yourself to deal with this other individual who might be triggered. And you've learned to identify if they might be triggered a little bit as well. Okay, so, oh, I'm good. I'm just a little bit under time for 30 minutes, which is good. It gives us more time for practical stuff. So that is practical emotional intelligence in a nutshell. The final piece of the puzzle is empathetic messaging. You can know all of that stuff and still put people on the defensive by the way you present an idea or a message to them. So if Amanda is ready, Amanda is ready. All right, we are going to do at least one, maybe two, probably one real world scenario examples of using empathetic messaging. I'm going to walk all of you through a plug and play format that you can use for pretty much any conversation. Side note, you can also use them for presentations and starting meetings. This is a little format that is magic. So the number one problem with all human communication that I have seen, and I've been doing this since 1999, the biggest problem is the personal pronoun I. I need you to come back to work. I don't think that you've been doing well working from home. I think you've been messing around and playing Angry Birds. I. You are annoying me. I need to move on with my work. Versus having a you mentality. I want you to come back to work, but how does that benefit you? How can I help you? And your audience mind map is knowledge. Knowledge equals empathy. So keeping in mind, we're going to take what I want out of the equation and think of how it helps you. All right, so Amanda, can you, I know there were 5 different scenarios that we thought about using. Which one did you decide on?
Would you like me to read it?
You can read it, or you can just state it in your own words.
Okay, so there's an employee named Jackie, and she doesn't feel comfortable returning back to work because she lives with her Uncle Tom, and he has some underlying medical conditions and is also immunocompromised.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She also has 2 kids and is kind of concerned about childcare and what the world's going to look like when she does return.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds like a really complicated and very common situation.
Absolutely.
So now, what is it that you would like? This is the step 1. What would you like Jackie to say yes to? What are you going to present to her? What would you like to talk about in this difficult conversation?
Well, we were thinking about returning to work and having people who were previously working remotely come back into the office. And so, looking for her to say yes to returning to work in the office.
Okay, fantastic. Now, please note, we're writing, if you were doing this at home, you're writing one short sentence. It's not a dissertation. What do I want them to say yes to? Great.
Return to work.
Fantastic. Now, step 2, how does it benefit Jackie to come back to work? What is she missing by working at home?
Well, I was going to lead with free lunch Wednesday, so I'm not sure if that's too much of an attractor or not, but also the team environment and really having that collaborative workspace that is really hard to do over the computer.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna poke a little bit on this stuff because that's my job. Free lunch Wednesday is a funny thing that you could add in if you have a relationship with her, with Jackie. That's part of your mind map. Can you say, and free lunch on Wednesdays? Is a team environment and collaborative work environment relevant to Jackie? Does she care about that?
She's a pretty social person, so I think that would be something that she values and has also mentioned that she misses while she's been working remotely.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. See, now we're getting into a human being. She's mentioned missing it. Oh, now that's ammunition. I love that. Is there anything else that she's missing? I mean, you said she has kids and Uncle Tom. Is it easy to work from home? Is it calm? Can she focus? Or
Yeah, so I think it's more convenient to work from home for her, but I'm sure that there's the daily distractions, but the convenience of being able to step away for a minute and handle a situation at home is important, but yes, I'm sure there's definitely distractions.
okay. Have you experienced any of distractions, or are her kids under control?
They're kind of wild.
All right. Now, good. So now you could dig as deep into the benefits for an individual as you want. Some individuals, it might be really hard to find the benefit, but there's got to be some carrot. Also, is there any possibility that people are going to be laid off if they refuse to come back?
Yeah, it's really going to become a requirement. So the company is starting off by kind of easing people back into work, but then they are going to have a hard date of where people have to start coming into the office on a regular basis on August 1st.
Okay, great. Good. So of these benefits that we've listed, what do you perceive the most important to be for Jackie? Free lunch Wednesdays, team environment, collaborative work environment, it's social, or the lack of distraction in a workplace?
Probably a combination of the collaborative team environment and distraction-free space to work.
What do we get if we have a distraction-free place to work and collaboration? How does that benefit her work?
It's probably less stressful and adds to more productivity throughout the day.
What does she get if she's more productive?
That's a good question. Maybe an incentive plan or not sure.
Okay, so let's just for the sake of this particular role play, I'm going to say that there's some, when she's more productive, there's incentives, there's bonuses and stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
Is that real? Does that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Or she can have, the ability to get a great performance review because she's hitting her metrics.
That I love. That's the language I'm looking for. Metrics. Yes. Okay. And what is the problem or situation that is causing us to have this conversation?
That we're requiring employees to return to work on August 1st. And, she has some doubt about returning for a couple of different issues because of her kids' childcare, but also that her uncle that she lives with, she could also bring home something to him that could cause some stress on her end, I'm sure.
Okay. So now I'm going to adjust the idea portion of the conversation. So you don't want to just get on the phone and say, I need you to say yes to coming back to work. Is this a conversation to alleviate her fears about coming back to work, make her comfortable? Would you want her to say yes to the fact that your protocols are safe?
Absolutely, yes. That what we're putting in place to mitigate any kind of risk.
Good. All right. Now, this is complicated because we're dealing with a human being, but having this structure makes it simpler. So when we brainstorm, this is the order. First, we think of the idea, the thing we want them to say yes to, the discussion we're having. Then we think of all the benefits to that person. Why? Because it puts us in an empathetic, psychological space, a helpful space. Then we write down the hook statement, which is the number one benefit. It gets us even more excited. Yeah, I'm really going to help Jackie. I'm not forcing her to come back to work. I'm helping. And then we say the problem because you need to know the pain point. When we call up Jackie or get on the Zoom, we deliver it in this order. Hook, the number one benefit, then state the problem, the big hairy thing, we know it's in the room. Then we say the idea that we have that is going to help them receive all these benefits. So in this case, I'm going to say it because I've done it before. And then once I've said it, I'd like you to be listening, Amanda, and if you can, adjust my language and make it more HR appropriate. And I'd like you to spit it back to me in your own words. You ready?
Yes.
You can take notes. Okay, so hi Jackie, how you doing? How's Uncle Tom? Blah blah blah. Great. Today I would like to talk to you about one way that we can help you really increase your performance metrics and start getting more bonuses and stuff. Now, the situation that we are in is that our company is going to require employees to come back into the workplace August 1st. And I know that you have some concerns, and you're not the only one, honestly. Other people feel this way too, of bringing home COVID to your family, which is a huge concern for you. So today, I would like to talk to you about all of the things that we have in place to make sure that the workplace is safe and sanitary. I want to answer any questions that you have so that you can feel comfortable moving back into the workplace by August 1st. And once you're back in the workplace, you can go back into that team environment and that collaborative space that I know you love as a social individual. And you know that working with a team helps you increase your metrics, increase your productivity, hit those bonuses. And of course, we all love free lunch Wednesdays. So Jackie, what is your first question? I'm here for you. What are your concerns about our COVID protocols?
Stacee, so if I'm supposed to speak on an HR way for you to say that, I think you did it very well. I think you must have some training somewhere in there. You asked all the right questions and made all the right statements. So that was perfect.
Thank you, Amanda. And that is, that's my emotional intelligence training at work. I'm listening. I'm using my imagination to put myself in that individual's shoes. So do you want to speak it back to me just so that the audience can hear it in a different way, not by a fake professional, but a real professional?
I think you did it very well.
Okay, then we don't have to do that. How much time do we have? It's 1:34.
Yeah, so I think you probably have time to go through another scenario, if not two, if you'd like.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. So,
Right,
so before we move on, in the audience, are there any questions about this process that I can answer for you while we do a second version? Because if it isn't clear, please ask me questions. I love questions.
Absolutely. I don't see any in the queue right now, but should any come in, we will certainly circle back to those and give someone a chance to submit any in the meantime.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, if something comes up in the middle of us working through this scenario, please ask as they come up. I do not mind interruptions. I enjoy collaboration and I want to answer your questions. Okay, Amanda,
Great.
What is our next scenario?
So Amy is objecting to returning to the office, and she's seriously saying, I don't understand why you need me to come in. I've been just as productive working from home, and I prefer it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this one is going to require a little bit of a deeper dive into Amy's track record, if you will. Yeah. So, because we're not going to take Amy's word for it, are we? So again, what do you want her to say yes to? What is the idea? What is the conversation going to be around?
So similarly, basically she's going to have to return back to work by August 1st. And that's going to be a requirement of her position. And so we were able to switch gears and allow her to work from home during the pandemic. But now it's going to be a requirement of the position to return back to work by August 1st also. Mm-hmm. And, you know, her productivity it's been all right, but, you know, given the circumstances, we've been busier. And so, you know, we have been asking more from employees, and, you know, she's doing a great job, but I could definitely see room for improvement. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, the idea is we're returning back to work August 1st, and that is a requirement of the position. We may add to that and flesh it out as we make discoveries about the benefits for Amy. Again, is it similar? How does it benefit Amy to come back to work if she's crushing it from home?
So the other thing is our office hours are usually 8 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she kind of starts off at like 9:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, answers an email here and there, but you can see that her productivity has kind of gone down. And you know, sometimes she does work a little bit later, but
Okay, and you have in a real situation, you would have data that backs that up, factual.
absolutely, yes.
Good, of course you do. So how does it benefit Amy to come back to work? Being more productive?
More productive. And some of the tools that we use in our company aren't necessarily available to her when she's working remotely. So it's been kind of challenging switching some gears, and you know, she'd have those tools available to her should she return to the office that help potentially with her productivity.
Okay, so when she is more productive, what does she get? How's she been getting away with it?
Well, she does just enough to get by, but I could definitely see the potential for her to do more as well.
Mm-hmm. What if I don't want to do more? What if I'm happy? Is there something else that can motivate me as Amy? Now I'm asking you to invent something out of whole cloth.
Yep.
So, do you need help?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I did a lot of improv training as an actor, so this is my wheelhouse. So for example, if you know, I want you to be more productive because I'm the boss. You want to be productive because you want to move your career forward. Do you want to be in this position forever? Maybe she does. And some people do. Some people are okay with that. And that's a different challenge. And if it's an organization where they need to keep moving up and skilling up and up leveling, there might not be a good job fit. And that's outside of what we're talking about today.
And I think that's a really good point, Stacey, because not everyone is, you know, as motivated, I think, as some other employees. And that's honestly a lot of the struggles that some employers deal with, is that, you know, not one size fits all. And so, you know, yes, I would say, you know, tying it to a performance review and, you know, kind of comparing it to her coworkers to see really where she is in her position. Is she completing the tasks, you know, and is she going to get an annual pay increase also?
That we all love that. Now, not everyone's motivated by money. I just taught a really fun class in delegation. And the whole point of it was not, I'm trying to delegate to get things off my plate as a manager. I'm delegating, again, I versus you, to help you grow your career. So discovering what motivates the unmotivated, why are they unmotivated? Is it that they're not giving enough challenge? Is it, you know, what you can get into that headspace. So that's a whole other, we can do another one of these in 6 months and we'll do that. But
that sounds great.
But for now, I'm loving performance review and pay increase, right? So for the sake of an exercise, we're going to do that. And we're going to use that as the number one benefit. And then the problem we're facing is she just doesn't want to come back to work.
Yeah, that she really prefers working from home. And, you know, I don't think we've gotten a deep dive into the reasoning why. If it is convenient, or if there's any other underlying problems going on that is causing her to really prefer it. You know, she could also just be one of those employees that, you know, works better independently and isn't as collaborative as Jackie is.
Okay, so this time, because it's going to be perfect every time if I do it, and it's a better learning experience if you go through it. Can you write down, just in one sentence, write down what you want her to say yes to? What's the idea? What do you want to talk about?
Returning to work in person.
Now, is there a deeper conversation? We're not just going to say, you're going to help her. So you want her to say yes by helping her understand why it's worthwhile by answering any questions she has, for example. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And what is the problem?
The problem is that she feels she's been just as productive working from home.
Has she though?
She has not, no.
Okay. We've seen a decrease in productivity, which we will go over. The hook statement is the annual review.
Yes.
Pay increase.
Tied to the annual review, yes.
Okay, productivity, pay increase, and easier working because she has the tools.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so you get on the call and you say, "Hi, Amy, I want to help you do what?"
Hi, Amy, I want to help you achieve a pay increase during your annual performance review by hitting your metrics that are required of your position. And you are also able to work. You'll have an easier time at work because we have the tools available to you to perform your job.
Perfect. Now, this is why I wanted you to do it. When we mush everything kind of together, it gets mushy. One sentence, you had it, and then you added to it. "Hi, Amy, I would like to help you get an annual pay raise at your annual review." That's it.
Perfect.
Then new sentence, because you want to be super clear. New sentence. Now the situation that we're in is that I hear you prefer working from home, but everyone is going to be required to come back to work August 1st, period.
Perfect.
So today I called you so that we can talk about some of the reasons why you want to work from home, why it's more convenient for you, what are your concerns coming back to work, so that I can do my best to make you comfortable and prepared to come back to work August 1st. And new sentence, when you come back to work, all the tools that you didn't have will be there. You'll be more productive. You'll have the camaraderie of your colleagues, and you'll be more likely to be able to increase your productivity.
That's truly wonderful, Stacey. I think that's a really great way of laying it out and, really having that conversation that could be something very difficult, turning it into something that is digestible for the employee.
It doesn't put them on the defensive. They
Correct,
still
yeah.
may be thinking, "I don't want to come back to work. I disagree," but they're not triggered.
I guess in that situation, if I could throw it back on you and, have her say, well, my performance and my productivity is absolutely fine. I've done everything that you've asked. I've met my deadlines. How do you really come back and, not be defensive to a remark like that?
Breathe, pause. In my bio, it says, my philosophy is there are three things that are a problem with all communication and coaching. One is your baseline presentation skills. If you practice and cultivate deliberate pausing, not just when you have to think of a thought, I am pausing because when someone attacks you, you have that, so you have a moment. Once you're able to take a breath, and you got to practice doing that. It doesn't just happen. Always be asking, A, B, A, and listening and responding. And repeat. So I understand that in your perception, you feel like your productivity hasn't suffered. What are you basing that on, Amy? I've got my pen. Can you give me some benchmarks?
That's perfect.
Find out why. You don't fight a blame with a blame. You come back. And then because you've cared and prepared, you have a very neutral assessment so that you can come back with, I completely understand how these things were successful. However, when I look at your file, I see that on this date, this happened, and this date, this was lost, and that you've been logging in at 9:30. Do you want to unpack for me why this particular thing was late? Or, what it's company policy that you be in at 8 o'clock and you're coming in at 9:30, regardless of whether or not you're productive. It's company policy. So, and just having this conversation.
Perfect. And to speak on things from an HR perspective, I really think that's why documentation is very important for employers. Keeping track of these things over the course of, each month, or, having those employer check-ins where you're speaking with a manager to follow up on where you're at and what needs to be improved on, and having that tracked so that when you do have to have these difficult conversations in this particular situation, that you are prepared to speak to those issues.
Exactly. And not in a defensive way, in a factual way. And
all right. We actually, Stacey, do have a question that came in, and I was wondering if we could speak to this.
Absolutely.
So someone did ask earlier, do you have any emotional intelligence training that we can take or purchase to be able to train us and our managers? And then I have a question related to what we've been speaking on. So I don't know if you want to talk to the first one quickly.
Sure. I do offer training. This course becomes an expanded piece with more information. And what I do for emotional intelligence is I budget supporting. I bring in a role play coach. And this individual comes in, and she is an actress, and she also has actors who work with her if we need multiple ones, if it's a large group. And we role play. And she will take on any character. You can say, I have a cantankerous, defensive, aggressive, assertive baby boomer who's on his way to retirement, and he doesn't listen to anything I say. She just puts that right on, and she's that guy. And then you get to fight with that guy, or hopefully not fight with that guy, and test out these theories. And then we do coaching around it. The group will sometimes chime in, and they can say, freeze, go back, give him a lifeline. What should you, Jackie, this is what you should say instead of this. Okay, rewind, try it this way. So you get it into your muscle memory, pausing, thinking, breathing, asking questions, getting away from attacking and that I mentality, because it has to be practiced. And I can do half day, full day, week-long retreats with yoga and meditation, depending on your budget.
Okay, thank you so much. That sounds wonderful. So we actually have a couple of questions. So it says that it seems to be implied that these employees are unable to achieve their bonus or metrics when they're working from home. Is that really the case? So that's part of the question. And so, I think if we were to change that scenario up a little bit, and you have a perfect employee that is really, really doing well at their job and excelling working from home, however, they're changing the requirements of the position and making it so that it's mandatory to come into the office, and you don't have that quantitative and, data to back up that their performance has slipped, how would you handle that?
Mm-hmm. So how do you handle the perfect employee that is meeting all of their criteria and deadlines? Now, keep in mind, I am not an HR professional, and I do not play one on TV. There are myriad scenarios that you will come across, and you will know better than I how to handle those. I will pick the low-hanging fruit for a coaching session because it's what I can grasp. So know that. It's my cheat. My thoughts when it comes to this is it's not a negotiation. So regardless of whether or not you want to work from home, this is what's happening. And there's a nifty little trick called feel, felt, found, where you could say, Amy, I understand how you feel. It is more convenient working from home. You can step away, deal with your kids. You don't have the commute. I feel that way. Other people have felt that way. I wish you were the only one. But what we've found is that when we all come together in the workplace, there is a team collaborative magic that happens that we lose, quite frankly. And in the interest of the company, the bigger bosses have decided that it's mandatory to come back. I'm terribly sorry that you are not behind it. What can I do to make it easier for you?
Okay, that sounds great. And someone actually it spoke or asked a question or a statement based on what you're saying, and they say that the answer really is simple, and that if you want to continue to work with us, you do need to return to the office.
Correct. And that is a last ditch phrase. If depending on how it's said, if you want to keep working here, you got to come back. It's a fact. But saying it in such a way that we really value your contribution, and we want you to come back because everyone is coming back. And unfortunately, people that elect to not come back are going to be let go. And we are hoping that you will make the decision to return. Is different than you have, right?
Yeah.
And then but this is all, it's a piece of clay. If you have somebody who is super aggressive with you, who is not hitting their targets, and who is kind of dead weight, yeah, you might say that. Or if you have somebody that is, if we did the DISC styles, which is something else we do in the full program, somebody who is a dominant type, they're very cut and dry. Say, okay, Paul, the reality is people that don't come back are going to be let go. Sorry.
Yeah.
So how can I help
Absolutely.
you? So
Stacey, I just want to bring up one important point that, we talked about employees having relatives that have some sort of condition that could, probably cause concern of bringing something home and the risk with that. If there's ever an employee that has a particular health concern, we want to have that interactive process with them about returning back to the office. Even if it is a requirement, we don't want to have that kind of conversation where it's, the reality is everyone's coming back. And if you want to come back, it's really important to dig deeper into the reasonings and the concerns that that employee has, if they have any other medical conditions or if they brought any concerns to you. So to kind of do that interactive ADA process is going to be really important if it brings that concerns to you. And, kind of handle each situation differently, I think.
Yeah. And as I said before, and I'll say it forever and ever, is this extra work for you? Yes. Yes, it is. But it's worth it, because when employees come back and they're angry or fearful or triggered constantly and their amygdala hijacked, they're not going to be productive. They're going to be more infighting, more hostility. People who are client facing are going to have problems. People are going to be late. It causes a whole series of problems. And this emotionally intelligent process is a dandelion. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And as you plant seeds of psychological safety, emotional intelligence, you model it as a manager, because mostly you're responsible for creating a team culture. And if you have to have a meeting with everybody and say, hey, I took an emotional intelligence class, we're going to experiment with being nicer to each other, and give them some guidelines, make them feel a part of it, whatever it takes, it will become easier and easier. But building this foundation is work. It is work. Another thing about employees who enjoy working from home, or who have relatives who are immunocompromised, et cetera, when you do your situation mind map, is part of it is, with some people, it might be a negotiation. Is there wiggle room? Is it everyone must be back full time every day, all the time? Or do you have the kind of organization where somebody could do a three work week in the office and 2 at home, or take Fridays off, or half days? Is there leeway for an employee who deserves it, who's worth it, who can handle it? And if there's not, there's not. But if there is, be prepared to say, look, I'd love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. That's all. Any other questions? No?
Have any other ones that have come in? It looks like we were able to answer all of those.
Fantastic. Well, it is a couple minutes to the end, so I'm going to do my wrap up if that's okay with everybody.
Perfect.
Okay. So today we talked about how when people are triggered, and everyone is triggered all the time, it can cause problems. We have talked about using practical emotional intelligence, and the roadmap is learn to identify triggers, develop coping mechanisms so that you can calm down before you would talk to somebody, and so that you can help them calm down if necessary. Get logical, activate that neocortex, ask questions, dig deep, get into your head, and care and prepare. And emotional intelligence is the gift that keeps on giving. We did most of our questions during, so I'm going to skip this. When you use practical emotional intelligence, you minimize and manage stressful situations, get insight into your employees' perspective, support their well-being, and ease their transition to our post-COVID world that is coming. Next step for you is to start using these tools as soon as possible today, if you can. Where can I practice? Can I just right after this course, can I sit down and do a physical check? Am I triggered? I don't know. I just took a course. Well, my next tense, ooh, talking about all those triggers made me upset. Write that down. Begin with yourself. Begin with your family. When your kids walk in, you know if they're upset. You know if your spouse is upset. They walk in the door and you go, what's wrong with you? They don't have to say anything. Use that. How do you know? Well, I can see the twitch in the eye, work on that. Start using these tools. If you are curious about leveraging your soft skills in any management situation, including the deeper workshops, please reach out to me. My email is here, and set up a 30-minute complimentary strategy call to see if any coaching is right for you, which one, how we would do it, etc. And then you can get 10% off your first workshop. So that is my email, and they'll send it to you, of course. And thank you so much for listening. The most difficult part of any webinar or presentation is listening to it. So thank you for your attention. I'm going to hand it back to Jackie for a final wrap up.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stacey. That was a fantastic webinar. I really hope everyone came away with some actionable items. I want to thank everyone again for attending this webinar. We hope that you learned a little something. And in addition to Stacey's emotional intelligence training, if you have been struggling with building a return to work plan and reworking your HR policies to stay in compliance, MP is here to help. If you would like to learn more about how MP can assist with this and more, you can email us at marketing@mp-hr.com or schedule a call with us via the follow-up email. We hope that you all stay healthy and have a great day, and we will see you next Thursday. Thank you, everyone.